let's get into our newspapers. Shortly, we'll introduce our guest to you, but we want to start off by just taking you through the newspapers, the headlines and all that, before we get, like Ben would like to say, surgical with it. But Benjamin, I know you've been following the U.S. elections. It appears our choice of a candidate, if we were voting in the U.S., isn't doing so well. I know it's too soon to call, but...
Well, it's not too soon at this point.
Now,
there's Trump has over 260, I think.
Kamala is still around the 180s.
Around 267, if you are staying with some of the figures that are being put out. If you look at the Associated Press, usually one of the most reliable when it comes to this, they would give you Harris 214, Trump 247, but some project as high as 267 already if they are adding Pennsylvania and other places. But for me, it just, I'll just highlight something I shared a short while ago, people talking about fake news, propaganda and the rest. And I just said that Americans have chosen their chalice, right? Americans have chosen their chalice and they will have to drink of it to the dregs. So cheers to them.
Well, it would be really sad.
You know, you remember that saying, as you make your bed, so you'll have to lie on it. That's it. The only thing is, you know, when Nanaya Mreku was here yesterday, he made a point, and it is true to a great extent, not as much as it used to be when you had a unipolar or unipower world. Now there are many entities rearing their heads. You can still say the US is the primus inter pares in terms of superpowers, still, okay? But it's being chipped away at by other countries like China, like the BRICS countries and others. So it's more of a duopoly, and eventually it may, you know, get eroded a bit. The point there is that still, if the US catches a cold or sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. And so what happens there is relevant to countries like Ghana as well, trade, diplomacy, and all of that. But for me, like I'm saying, Americans have made their choice, they have chosen their chalice, and they'll have to drink of it to the dregs. So that's it. Let's bring in Dr. Kwame Asante. He's a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning.
Hey, Ben. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Doc. And of course, your very own sweetie, Abochi, is here.
Is Sweetie around?
Yes, please. She
yes.
I'm here, Doc. Good morning.
Yes, good to see you.
Yes,
good morning.
To see you. Doc, let's go straight into your trail of thoughts. What's on your mind? What would you share with us this morning?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'll use the U.S. elections. All right. People will be wondering, why is it that U.S. are going through the polls to elect their leaders, and we get excited about it. We are following keenly the whole process and the rest of them. It is important to note that U.S. is a big player in terms of world politics, and that whatever happens in the U.S. obviously affects every part of the world. So we must show interest in whatever happens in the U.S. in terms of the electoral outcomes, and then begin to position ourselves towards what each of the leaders have said. Because when they are done with the elections and they begin to roll out their policies, obviously is going to affect us in terms of trade, in terms of foreign policy, in terms of human rights, in terms of everything. So we must show interest. But it is my hope and prayer that Americans will come out and give us the leader that they think is the best. And then that leader will also follow through their policies and programs that we in other parts of the world will, you know, have at least some bites of the things that they give to us so that we move on. But that aside, The good things that we are picking from the election, we should be able to learn from them and then inculcate that in our elections here. The way the campaign has been run, even though at a point in time so hot and all that, but we can say that, look, they've conducted themselves well. Exactly the same thing we want here. Issue of violence should be taken away from our elections here, where we have seen 2 or 3 incidents that we don't want a repeat of that. The one in Hawa Kumson's constituency, the one in Nima, and the rest of them. Let us rise up and then deal with all manner of violence so that the last election where 8 people were shot dead, and up to date nobody has talked about it, will not have a repeat of that. I wish the US the best, and we believe that the best candidate will win. And then whatever policy they have, we will also be able to follow through. And then obviously we'll get some fair share from what is happening here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc. I mean, I listened to many analysts who describe this election as unpredictable. And so we all wait to see the outcome of this electoral college. Let me get straight into the newspapers. I'll start with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, AG targets new offices in regions. And we can see a picture of the president and Godfrey Effah-Darteh there in short. Akuman Chief endorses Baumia. Here we go again. Roman father replaces Effah-Darteh. That's, you know, so much confusion at the GFP. Return to negotiation table. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission tells CLOSAG. And MIIF leads mineral resource management. I want to start with the story about the confusion that has rocked the camp of the late Effah-Darteh about who is replacing her or whether or not the party is withdrawing from the elections completely. And that story is on page 6 of the Daily Guide newspaper. Yeah. So Roman father replaces Effah-Darteh. Now, following the death of founder and presidential candidate of the Ghana Freedom Party, that is the GFP, Effah-Darteh, the party's leadership has officially nominated Philip Kwabena Agyeman-Appiah-Kubi, also known as Roman father, as the party's new presidential candidate. A letter signed and issued by the General Secretary of the party, George Afful, on Monday, November 4th, disclosed that the party has duly nominated its running mate, Philip Kwabena Agyeman-Appiah-Kubi, to replace the presidential candidate. It, however, is unclear to the public when another letter resurfaced later on Tuesday, announcing the withdrawal of the party to contest the December elections. GFP, put your house in order. We don't need this at this time. Be circumspect in security reporting, according to the police. So, Director of Operations at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Abbas, has cautioned media houses to refrain from sensationalizing security issues that can potentially cause panic and tension in the country. Now, according to him, the Ghana Police Service has been overwhelmed by misinformation about news items circulating in the media without clarification from its officials. And we here join you to say check, double check, make sure your facts are right before you put anything out or share, retweet, whatever it is that you're putting out information, be sure that you're putting out the right one. Let me just run through the rest of the stories here. NCD Alliance celebrates World Stroke Day. Napo slams NDC Azoka Boys project. Cybersecurity further for Eslo Wusu Ekufo. Government absorbs Daboya School. Land reclamation book launched. All set for Western Gospel Awards. And on the back page, Otuado set to name squad for Angola-Niger clash. Semenyo seeks God. Balotelli booked within 5 minutes on Syria return. And Benzema advises Mbappe to adapt. Doc, your quick reflections on these stories.
I'll start with it. Akuman Chief endorses Baumia. It is unfortunate because this flies in the face of the Supreme Court ruling, which says that, yes, chiefs are part of the political system, but they cannot engage in partisan political activity. What the best that they can do is to endorse policies of what? Leaders, but not to what? Endorse candidates. So this is one of the aberrations. We have said it time and again. But what we need to do as a state is that, yes, the Supreme Court has come out with a beautiful ruling on that, but we have to let it work by looking at the law again and then amend it and then prescribe sanction. We need a sanction regime to deal with people who cross the line in this regard. That is the only way out. Otherwise, the ruling, yes, will be there, but we'll continue to have such aberrations. That is unfortunate. But we have to use this platform to tell Nananum, not all of them, those who engage in that, it doesn't bode well for our democracy. And then they also, the position that they occupy, we see them as neutrals. So we want them to shy away from things like this, and then we'll continue to have them as the epitome of tradition. And then they should be the people that anytime we are in difficulty, we will run to. I'll look at the security reporting.
Yes.
And I support the call by the senior police officer. All right. These things are very important information that we need. And we need such promptings from time to time. Ghana is surrounded by countries which are virtually in flames. We are in turbulent region. So anything that will undermine security, we have to be careful and then go by the rules of the game. So I support the police officer, and then we want to work and work hard so that we maintain the peace that we have. It is very expensive, and that we will not be in a position to undermine it. So let us, all of us, learn from this, and then we do the needful. And then you also talk about the issue of Ghana Freedom Party.
Yeah.
Right. Yesterday, I listened with rapt attention the confusion that is brewing within that political party. And I realized that something is wrong there. At one point in time, the gentleman was making reference to the fact that the late Effah-Darteh asked them to do A, B, C, and all that. And the host, Kujo Breeze, was asking whether you consulted very well. Is it a case that you also made reference to your constitution? What does your constitution say about what is happening? I mean, the guy was struggling to get answers. It tells you that institutions, virtually from where I said, do not exist in Ghana Freedom Party. Because if you have institutions, these things are clearly defined, and you are able to know where you proceed, because they are the rules of the game. How do you take a decision and you don't consult, and then you don't go by the dictates of the constitution, but you rely on word of mouth from the late leader? I think political parties such as what Effah-Darteh Ghana Freedom Party should be able to lend the ropes and lend them well if they really want to be important within the sphere of politics in our country.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc, for that insightful review of the stories. Benjamin, let's do your paper now.
Well, the Daily Searchlight is where I'm starting from. Bagbin erred by declaring seats vacant. Effah-Darteh says so. That's Captain Retired Effah-Darteh. There's also 2024 election. Imani shreds NDC and NPP manifestos as vague. Then there's another one, Dr. Hassan Asante. God will favor you for your good work. Na Nyankpalana blesses Alan K. And Wisconsin University wins Cybersecurity Authority's Industry Partnership Award. Friday, 8th November 2024 is not a public holiday. Well, let's get into some of the stories from here. I'll start with the one on page 2. So, Captain Retired Nkrabea Effah-Darteh, a veteran legal practitioner and a former member of parliament, says the Speaker of Parliament, Albert Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, erred when he declared the 3 parliamentary seats of the NPP in the House vacant. Quoting him, he says, it was constitutionally wrong for the Speaker to declare the seats vacant. He stated, explaining that the 1992 Constitution makes it clear that only political parties have that sole prerogative to declare an MP seat vacant after the MP withdraws his or her membership from the party. That's his stance. But I've always asked, if the law were that it would kick in a future time, when there would be a time lapse, when the effect of whatever the law sought to achieve would be nullified or would be moot, what then would the law, signify? What would it mean? What would it stand for? Maybe those on the other side would have to determine. But the other day, I was taking a look at a post by Professor Kuman from this must have been, was it 2020? Thereabouts, when Speaker Michael Quay delivered his ruling on the Fomena MP and all of that. And bigwigs of the NPP, including Kuman, and their reactions. And today, the way some of them react, it makes for interesting reading. It tells you that there are different interests at play, and depending on where the shoe is and who is feeling the pinch, the reactions would be different. I have that post. I'll check it out shortly and read out to you what Kuman said back then. But 2024 election, Imani shreds NDC and NPP manifestos as vague. Now, Imani Africa, a policy think tank, has criticized the current manifestos of three leading political parties for the 2024 election, stating that they do not offer tangible solutions to the economic challenges facing the country. The think tank described most of the promises in the manifestos as, quote, non-quantifiable, vague, lacking clarity, feasibility, and failing to provide timelines for implementation. The analysis was conducted by Imani Africa into the content of the manifestos of the NPP and the NDC and the Movement for Change, of course. They have their great transformational plan, and they have their plan, like I said, as well. CD moves closer to 17 Ghana cedis on retail market, sells at 16.77 to $1. I was speaking to someone a few days ago who told me that, well, it's more like 21. I told him how. And he said to me, well, if you add taxes, bank charges, the transactional charges on the dollar and you're transacting, then you're looking at 21. I said, okay, but for us, we know it's 16 point something, not, 21 as yet. I don't know what your thoughts are on these matters. I'm still looking for the post, and then I'll read to you what Kuman said back then, which then, I mean, reflects on political actors and how they flip-flop depending on what is affecting them or not affecting them. Doc.
I'll begin with Effah-Darteh in Grabia, what he said about the Speaker's ruling. Yes. It's unfortunate because he, as a lawyer, he knows that the case is before court. So for him to go into it, I'm just surprised. I have reserved all my comments if you have watched me, because the case is before court. I have a lot of interesting ideas that when the court is able to do its work, I will also come out and then share my thoughts. So I will leave that one, right? But on
the point of political actors, honesty, they say, is the best policy. And yes, you could err, but if you do, then you might as well admit that maybe my thinking then was not right. Just as some have said that, oh, Speaker Quay's ruling then may have been technically faulty, which is why they now say the reverse should be the case. Kuman back then said, on the back of, Professor Kuman actually saying that, no, it shouldn't apply in the way that the Fomena MP had been treated by Professor Michael Quay. This was Kuman then. He said, by filing as an independent candidate, the MP automatically loses his membership of the party. Having lost his membership, he is no longer an NPP member in the current parliament. He becomes independent. Reading the party's constitution and the constitution together should answer your questions. He's a lawyer, okay? And this was his reasoning on the matter back then. The constitutions of both the NPP and the NDC state that, if you perform certain actions, you lose your membership of the party. It hasn't changed. So what has changed now? It's the political flip-flopping for me, back then versus now. Yeah, but that's
we will come back to that, but to look at that. But there is something that I want to tie to this, that there are a number of gray areas in our constitution that we need to quickly get around the table and deal with them. One is this issue we are talking about, which I am hopeful the Supreme Court will rule on that. But beyond this, the issue of that 30 days rule to the election when the seat becomes vacant and all that, nobody is trying to look at this. It is an important thing. Today, even some people are not declared vacant and all that, and somebody resigns. From now up to election, you can't field any candidate. The person will, the constituents will not have what? A representation. You remember how last week the Chief Justice was talking about the fact that this action by the Speaker would deny, all right, people representation, and that's why they are quickly working on that and the rest of them. You look at it vis-a-vis what I'm talking about, you realize that there is something we have to do about that provision so that we are clear that, yes, when it happens this way, what we do. Because, yes, if you resign today, the people are not going to have a representation. Have we thought about that? We as a society, we need to look at this. The issue of manifesto and the work of Imani, I salute them. I salute them. And I'll add CDD also to it. Last week on your network, the CDD gentleman, Dr. I think Asiri also, right? He challenged the two dominant political parties, NPP, NDC, that come out with how much you have put down in terms of cost relative to your promises within the area of health. And nobody could give an answer. And it was very interesting to listen to them and said, wow, so on what basis were you promising the people issues about health? We are going to do this. And I said, tell us in monetary terms how much you have earmarked for this and all that. And I will move the conversation forward. How are you going to get money to fund all that you are saying in that area? If you tie that one to what Imani is doing, brilliant work. Mostly all that they are doing is just to what? Give us what? A whole, catalog of promises, and that they have not sat down to work the mathematics. So at the end of the day, they will come to office and then scratch on the face of the problem, and then more often than not, they will leave most of the promises unfulfilled. And that, for me, is critical when we're looking at governance of this country and what people deserve. It comes to tell us that at the end of the day, our leaders would deceive us and promise us high heavens, but only come to office to do something different. This is not good enough. And I commend the two think tanks, the work they've started, that others must follow so that we can hold these people accountable for their actions and inactions. And then the last one I want to look at is the CD depreciation. I have started seeing adverts flying across the social media, what this party, for instance, the NPP has done in area of improving the economy, for which reason they are asking for the people of this country to retain them and the rest of them. There is no problem about that. But the CD keep on depreciating. And what is their answer? All right? Because the ordinary man in this election is just going there with a simple message. Look at your economic condition and you vote according to that. That the message that did the magic in 2000 for President Kufuor is visually going to resonate in this election, because we all go to the same market. We've seen what economic condition there. Nobody is going to convince us with any data from anywhere.
Right.
What was the price of kinky in 2020 and what is it today and all that? And this is going to be what? The changing circumstances, or this is going to change the fortunes of political parties in this election. We are going to look at that and then vote what? Wisely. Of course, in addition to setting issues that also once a while they come up, like issue of what do you call galamsey? Right. It's going to be like doom saw. People are going to look at that and decide. Gradually, we are moving closer to areas such as America, where one issue can really cause a stir in the political choices of voters. We are getting there.
Right, and is Man City in trouble after that thrashing at the hands of Sporting Lisbon? Questions are being asked, but you can trust Pep Guardiola to bounce back. Never count him out. I can end careers and I could end yours. Shatta Wale warns Black Sheriff. I don't know, but I've been hearing... sometimes I struggle to, comprehend Shatta Wale. I like some of his music, but some of his utterances, I don't know. Recently, he was saying that Stonebwoy had, fame and money had got to his head. And I thought of Shatta himself and wondered, on the same front. But the recent beef, I think he was on a podcast and said that, Black Sheriff doesn't know how to dress well and all of that. And now he says, I can end careers and I could end yours. You see, this is my problem with GH artists. The Nigerians are doing big things. The South Africans, I mean, what's her name? The girl who sang Water. Tyler. They are collaborating, doing big things. Here, we are fighting. Instead of finding a rhythm, we've lost our rhythm because high life was our thing.
No, we haven't lost.
No, high life was our thing.
Life is still very much here. Have you listened to
which high life songs? Which high life songs? Name 5 artists who have delivered high life songs this year.
5
artists.
I'm naming
artists.
them. King Paluta's one. Wachame Kwame is one.
Which one?
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind right now. But I know he's still very actively producing music.
Our high life is I don't want to say almost dead.
Doing it.
But the point I'm making is that high life was something that we could hold and say, we did it. And the Nigerians picked it up and all of that. Now where it has shifted to, what is Ghana music? What do we own in terms of music?
Jumping onto the Afrobeat.
And instead of collaborating and coming together and doing stuff, it's about, I can end careers and I could end yours.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
Shatta Wale for you.
I don't know whether you want to say anything. If not, we move on.
I want to say something. Yeah, because I'm a fan of music. My family is full of musicians. So,
I see.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you look at some of these things, it's very unfortunate because, as you rightly said, high life has been our thing. So one would have expected that if for nothing at all, we maintain the quality and maintain the music at all times. And I will continue to salute those who are alive and dead for the work they've done in the area of highlight. Papa Youngson, A.B. Crensel, Jewel Aka, and the rest of them. Great musician. You have people like Amachi Dede Abrante, my own family member, Jodako, and all that. They've done so well. So one would have expected that people would take it from where they are living off. And that's it. Ben Bracon, name them. They've done so well. So what are we talking about here? But sometimes I look at them. I follow them on social media. As a journalist, I follow them. Listen to the human interest side of their stories and all that. But I realize that one of the youthful exuberances, so I forgive them. But it's about time that they sat down and reflect on these things and do great stuff. Because somebody like Shatta Wale, great musician, I've listened to him a lot. His lyrics, arrangement, and all that. Great musician. So I believe that he will inspire the other young ones, and then they do stuff. They should be thinking of what, going to, look at the work he did with Beyonce and all that. Great one. I want him to move on and do stuff so that others will follow. But the great high life musician, I continue to salute them. And if you follow Professor John Collins, all right, sometimes they organize certain programs at School of Performing Arts and Eugene. Come and listen to John Collins and all that on guitar. You will love it. Yeah. And I always, in my free times, I go and listen. Sometimes in their dance sessions, I also go and perform as a dancer. I'm very good at that. So we want that industry too. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
one of these days, invite me. I'll just come and watch you.
Oh, yes. Dr. Baby Kwe has been inviting me, meeting his students, and then teaching them how to dance phantom from. I go there and shake my body and then perform there. Wow. Yes, I do that. Yes.
All this talk about high life just brings to mind some of Daddy Lumba's song. And, there was a time in my life that I was really consuming a lot of Daddy Lumba. And you can tell that it's just serious ekutia. Papa,
but he's a great musician.
But if you follow,
this high life musician.
But you love that.
Yeah. You
He's
love them.
one of the greatest. One of the greatest.
Yeah.
Yes. I salute him.
But you can't take out the Champon from that equation if you want to talk about the Luma brothers and the beef.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Nane
Champon, Anyway,
and we can't forget Kwejuentwi. Look at how Kwejuentwi has taken our music. Look, not to bother you, but I went to Geneva. I was a student there, and then I met Burkina Faso students. And then they were telling me, who is this man Kwejuentwi? We love his music so much. And I asked them, do you understand the lyrics? They said, we don't care a hoot about the lyrics. We just listen to the, the beats, and we are very much happy. Burkina Faso students in Graduate Institute in Geneva, they were so much in love with Kwejuentwi. Yes, this is what we want our musicians to do. They should stop the youth fights and then do stuff.
Anyway, I think this song is just going to be ringing in my head all day. Let me do the Ghanaian.
Which one is that?
Papa cry, matuna chinye. Na maya kuntai, I'll say.
Daddy Lumba, that. Yes.
Oh, I love that man. Yeah. So Tampuli predicts one-touch victory for Bawumia. Dr. Nick Danso makes it 3 entrepreneur wins in a row. Friday, 8th November, not a holiday, says the Interior Minister. Wisconsin University grabs cybersecurity awards, and I'll just rush through the headlines in here. More youth to enjoy digital skills training, according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I was born into NPP, doesn't bring development, as Edwin Ketia says. Tampuli predicts one-touch victory for Bawumia, and 34,000 new cases of HIV detected in 9 months. I do want to get into this briefly. The National HIV and AIDS Control Program of the Ghana Health Service has reported over 34,000 new HIV infections detected from January to the 3rd quarter of 2024. That's a big number. Now, Dr. Stephen Aisiado, the program manager, emphasized the importance of public testing and screening, revealing that approximately 1.3 million people were screened during this period. Quotes, between January and the 3rd quarter alone, the number of people we identified as positives through our testing activities was 34,000 people. Please protect yourselves out there. HIV is real. Pathway to Ghana's oil sector. Dr. Nick Danso makes it 3 entrepreneur wins in a row. And of course, the Interior Minister says Friday, 8th November is not a public holiday, but 6th December, would be celebrated as a statutory holiday. Attorney General calls for reform in arbitration and public sector law. Labadi Beach Hotel pays 16.5 million Ghana cedis dividend to SNIT. Let me get into this briefly. That's the last thing I'll do.
But that story has been in the for quite a while. I'm wondering.
Labadi Beach Hotel, a flagship name in Ghana's hospitality industry, and this is the Ghanaian publisher, has presented a dividend of 16.5 million Ghana cedis to its shareholder, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. The dividend announced during the hotel's annual general meeting reflects the hotel's dedication to maintaining steady returns while bolstering its leadership status in the industry. And that will be it for me. If you have some reflections, Doc, your take now.
And that will be the beginning for me. That's 16.5 million.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because few months ago, Labadi, the owners of the operators of the facility there, management, I'm talking about management, decided to sell this thing off because they were not making profit and all that. What are we saying here? All right. We should not be quick to sell state property. If there's a problem, let's look at them and then handle them the way they ought to be handled. This thing has vindicated a number of people who were saying that, look, we can't go on that route. And I on this call, I want to salute organized labor and then the people of this country. They stood up and said, no, it will not happen on our watch. That is how we protect state property. That is how we ensure that those who hold political power, we hold them to what? The rules of accountability. It is very, very important. Issue of HIV cases rising up is a worrying situation. But I support the commission. They are doing a great job by giving all manner of education and advert and all that. We need to be careful so that we save our society and then we save our people.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Ben, any last paper from you before we go?
Well, I have the custodian. It talks about Al-Hassan Tampuli predicting one-touch victory for NPP, which you've mentioned already. I like the way our projections are going. Each side is saying we're carrying the day. When the day comes, then we'll see the chips falling in their proper places, and we'll see who will start keeping quiet and who will keep on talking. MIIF changes narrative on Ghana's mineral resources, protect judiciary from illegal pressures, AG to GBA. Razak Kojo-Poku answers Mohammed's 5 questions. Find some of these funny. Labadi Beach Hotel pays 16.5 million Ghana cedis, CD dividend to SNID. And the news center, Moba Ebusiapenyin donates 111,100 Ghana cedis to NSMQ winning team. And then GIF and Achak begin 3-day protest against shipping lines. And there's also 170,830 health workers recruited between 2017 and 2023, but backlog remains. Those are the stories. That's it for me.
Okay.
Doc, any final reactions before we go?
Yeah, I'll look at Al-Hassan Tampoli and his prediction. Normal, we can grant him that because, of course, he cannot say that they are going to lose. That would be a different story. But what is the reality? The reality is that Ghanaians would decide based on the health of the economy. Ghanaians would decide based on issue of unemployment. Ghanaians would decide based on doomsok, which I don't know whether we are in or it is just local problems we are experiencing, right? Ghanaians would decide based on what Galamsey, and then certain constituency-specific problems. These are going to be the canons that we are going to gauge the conduct of whoever we want to give our mandate to. But that I want to tie something to it, is the issue of what bogus polls that we are seeing, serving as propaganda, deceiving people into believing that one party is winning and all that. There is no doubt that some of the political parties have gone to the field, collected data, and then they are doing stuff. Great one. There are people who have not gone, but they have data that they are manipulating using what? Models of statistics and the rest of them. Beautiful. That's what we see in the US and all that. Beyond that, we are seeing those who are predicted because God has spoken to them and all that. Those are not scientific. We cannot follow. Because science is nothing. Scientific truths are universal and can be verifiable. They are verifiable. You can verify them. So for me, I will urge the public to shy away from bogus polls. But how would they see the cocoa seller? How will he know that what is happening is not the right thing and all that? We should continue to educate them and prevent them from being taken away by some of the utterances of people who come out with bogus polls. They do not only undermine our democracy, but they also affect the quality. And it also deceives the people into believing that something is right, something is wrong. In a democracy, people need information, but nothing but what? Accurate information. Information that will bring changes in their life. Information that will improve their lot, and information that will stand the test of time. And I'll also look at Kojo-Poku's response to Mohammed's questions. Yes, he has said his bit, but what I have is that it's not about the issue of Mohammed's 5 questions and Dr. Bahumia's 50 questions. It's the issue about the reality of the time. What is inflation levels today? What is the health of the economy? What is the rate of unemployment? Why are people still mining? And even though government has assured us that there is a renewed fight, is there any renewed fight against Galamsey? What is the effect of Galamsey on cocoa, which is the mainstay of this country? The effect of Galamsey on cereals, the effect of Galamsey on food crops and arable lands for agriculture and all that. These are threats that political parties must address and must address head on. Any other thing would throw them into the lake of fire. But they should remember that on December 7th, we are going to vote and vote effectively.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. Benjamin?
Thank you.
Well, that's how we're going to cap it off. Thank you for joining the conversation. That is Dr. Kwame Assan Asante. He's a political scientist. He's also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. This has been the News Review with Sweetie Abochi and yours truly, Bibija Joanna. And
Papa Kra Matuna Chini, Maya Punzai.
We serve you sports shortly. Do stay.